Part 13, Jubilee zinevella 2nd edition. Read through, video through. It's 10:29 p.m. on a Wednesday. She took a deep breath. A knot of conversation from another direction landed on her ear. Niche Wikipedia can be so freaking effusive. She took a deep breath. She saw faces and things. Wondered when Elon would jump out of the skydiver plane high above the salt flats with no parachute, if he would fall directly into the fire of the Burning Man sculpture or not. Wondered if it would be before or after FKA Twigs and Shia LaBeouf got there. Wondered when FKA Twigs would do some kind of crystal pole dance on a pole whose lower tip would be like a kind of drill, would tunnel FKA Twigs down into the underground. The salt flats would whirl themselves around them like a funnel cloud, somehow not disturbing the ground around the sudden and hovering tunnel cut by the crystal dance pole like a tornado. Mario's plumber pipe, that is to say, a portal. Then, when FKA Twigs would emerge again, slightly ever so shimmering, what else would be different? She wished for a way to express more complex aspects of location and reality via verb tense or aspect, mood, beyond third conditional, polyconditional, infinite conditional, branching out and away, receding. Faces in, faces out. There is an empty space on a couch. She sits down, snuggles her shoulder in the corner, rests her eyes just for a minute. But when she opens them again, it's broad daylight, of course, no dreams. She is covered with a jacket around her as a blanket, a fur coat, she notices, rabbit or chinchilla, gradient neon tip on each follicle. Someone must have covered her with it. It's hot. She leaves the jacket on the arm of the couch, not before folding it neatly, fingers in its soft fur, remembering the expensive chinchilla coat at the Galeries Lafayette in 08 Paris, attached to its stand with a clear-coated anti-theft wire loop. I hope my wagon's still at disc camp, she thought to herself, grabbed a clementine from her fanny pack, unpeeled it in the shape of a flower or an octopus. Missed her kid, of course, checked her phone, 1%, no messages. Probably having fun and not needing to disturb her, she thought. No news is good news. Wondered also if she had maybe put her phone to airplane mode, but didn't dare to check it. Wanted to save her 1% at least. Not dead yet. Well water, she thought. Well water, floated on her inner currents. No dream, but still dreamy. Halfway there. Sensed the water, she imagined, under her strongly glowing threads, coursing, pooling, wearing away, the sediment edging it, carrying its edges, particles and curls foaming through the currents. She found herself in a crowd, moving and milling, most people holding snow cones. Someone had an extra, offered it to her. The cold ice was good. The air around her was so hot, alkaline, pulling the water out of her. She crunched the crushed ice and sipped the sweet syrup from the paper cone. Tapping into her hummingbirdhood, her hummingbird hunger, her throats yearned for syrup and other nectars. Remembering the zip, zip call of the Anna's humming in her front yard, how they seemed to like it when she said it back, zip, zip, how their tail feathers chirped when they dove their show-off deep loops through the air. The crowd she was in was circling around someone speaking. She could hear it, this voice she had heard before but couldn't place. Husky, femme, or feminine. She didn't mean to stop and listen, but she thought she heard Jubilee, and felt then like she should stay, obviously. And she heard. This movement, this Jubilee movement, in its stated aims, I think, is a good thing. Those who hold wealth, for the most part these days, do so through theft, and should be stripped or liberated from their ill-gotten gains. and debtors should have their ledgers wiped clean, a fresh start. A fresh start, but once it's over, the Jubilee turnover, if it ever succeeds. What systems will we put in place to keep inequality, exploitation, etc. from happening again? I mean, I'm sure many of you have already thought about it and have very good answers to this question, but I don't see it mentioned in the movement in a way that makes me feel hopeful that we will come out of this and not fall right back into the same traps, at least, without laying the groundwork, disarming the landmines our rotten society has hidden for us, so to speak. She thought. And then another thing I wonder about the Jubilee movement is which debts can't or shouldn't be forgiven. In what cases is a debt a pledge to amends? What kinds of forgivenesses need to be worked for, like the non-financial kinds? I'm not sure that Jubilee can or should be applied to these kind of debts, the emotional, the spiritual debts, in the same way. Which suggests to me, I'm just kind of riffing here, that the immaterial realm isn't transactional in the same way. Fixed quantities, scarcity, etc., zero-summification are maybe impossible in the immaterial. There was a stirring. Maybe the speaker was done, or the wind started blowing in the other direction. She couldn't hear anymore. But she was happy she had happened across this speech. She mulled it over, thought about her own socio-emotional and psycho-spiritual debts, how many things she had learned from her friends, family, and artists she respected and admired, how many times she leaned on or drew strength from them in the little and the big ways. A group of long-haired bodybuilders in surfer shorts clustered by her, lifting their bubba kegs in cheers. "Did you hear that? Marianne Williamson is killing it right now," one said to another. "Jubilee movement is crystallizing around us. Love is in the air." Another bodybuilder said back, "I don't know, bro." When she said immaterial, it made me think of how much that's valued financially as digital, immaterial these days to fintech or whatever's. But then also about the debts owed by shareware, Napster, the digital trading files on LimeWire. IDK, it's like these exchanges seem free to the exchangers, but they weigh heavy on the infrastructure. The cloud hangs heavy with them. The energy they require. I mean, that energy has to come from somewhere. Like, how do we pay our debts to the materials that facilitate the immaterial in that case? Reduce not just our carbon footprint, but our energetic footprint more generally, IDK. The bodybuilder saying IDK instead of I don't know both times, she thought was endearing. "I wish I could live on light alone," said the first bodybuilder, doing a pirouette and flexing, muscles glossy in the hot sun. She walked to a cross street to get her bearings, 4 o'clock in Alchemy. She was close to her wagon, she thought, 2:30 and Benevolence, or was that pitching camp? She walked back in time toward it anyway, counterclockwise up Alchemy. How far had she gone before she saw the sign for inverted world camp? She saw it and was curious. She had always loved the album title, O, Inverted World, felt it as a good poem for her, those 3 words together, but couldn't remember whose album it was or what it sounded like. She sidled up to their giant pop-up tent and saw a sign with the description. O, Inverted World is a Shins album from 2001. We are here to invert it for you. You can flip the album's pitch over any center note you choose. You can flip it over any second in its running length, or any combination of both of those. We will flip it digitally and give you a copy of your version on a flash drive. In this way, we are trying to create as many possible inversions of O, Inverted World as we can. All the inversion variations. This project is about infinity.